Imagine you're marching through a narrow mountain pass. The morning mist hangs low over the hills. You haven't seen the enemy in days, only silence. You are a soldier of the British East India Company, part of the most powerful empire on earth. Your officers have told you this campaign will be quick, a few scattered hill warriors, nothing more. Then you hear it, a whistle, short, sharp, somewhere above you. You stop. The man beside you looks up. The trees move. And suddenly the mountains explode. Musket fire cracks from unseen ridges. War cries echo through the fog. Shapes rush downhill through the smoke. Curved blades flash between the trees. You can't see the enemy. You can't reach them. And for the first time since entering Nepal, you realize something terrifying. You are walking into a trap. The year is 1815. A small mountain kingdom stands face to face with the most powerful empire on earth. The British expected a quick victory, but what they got instead was a brutal, humbling lesson in courage. The Nepalese, fierce, disciplined, and outgunned, refused to bow. And by the end of the war, both sides would walk away not just scarred, but with a deep, unexpected respect for each other. This is the story of how the Gurkhas of Nepal became living legends and earned the admiration of an empire. By the early 1800s, the British East India Company had swallowed kingdoms across the Indian subcontinent. Their next target sat high in the Himalayas, the Gurkha Kingdom of Nepal. The British sent demands. Nepal ignored them. Border skirmishes followed, then full-scale war. British columns marched into the hills expecting another easy campaign. Redcoats, artillery, endless supplies. But in the misty ridges and dense forests, none of that mattered. Patrols vanished, supply lines broke, ambushes came from nowhere. Every hill, every ravine, every shadow seemed to belong to someone else. And before British command fully understood what was happening, entire units were already gone. In those mountains, the Gurkhas weren't defending borders on a map. They were defending their home, and they fought like it. The Nepalese didn't have modern weapons. Many carried old matchlock muskets or captured flintlocks, slow to load, unreliable in the rain. So they relied on something far more terrifying up close. Their signature weapon was the kukri, a short, inward-curved blade designed to cut deep and kill fast. It wasn't just a knife. It was identity, survival. In close combat, the kukri turned every Gurkha into a storm. British survivors later spoke of night attacks where they heard only two sounds: soft footsteps in the dark and the whistle of steel slicing air. You'd hear it, and then nothing. And one man who wielded it would become a legend the British never forgot. But the deadliest weapon Nepal possessed wasn't steel or gunpowder. It was the land itself, and the warriors who knew every shadow of it. At the Battle of Jitgad, that legend took flesh and blood. A Gurkha officer named Bakti Tappa, 73 years old, saw British forces breaking through Nepalese lines. He didn't shout orders. He didn't wait for reinforcements. He drew his kukri and charged, alone. He crashed into a wall of redcoats, men half his age, twice his size, cutting down 4 before musket fire finally brought him down. The British were so shaken by his courage, they buried him with full military honours. In that moment, the Empire realised they weren't fighting an army, they were fighting a people who would rather die standing than live kneeling. But as extraordinary as that moment was, it wasn't the moment that truly changed everything. That realisation came at a place called Nalapani. Near Dehradun stood a hill fort. Small, isolated, defiant. A garrison of Gurkhas led by Captain Balbhadra Kunwar faced thousands of British troops. Artillery battered the walls. Assault after assault crashed against their defences. Still, the Gurkhas held. So the British tried something crueler. They cut off the water supply. Inside the fort, men, women and children scraped damp earth, licked condensation from stone, fought on with cracked lips and hollow eyes. they did not surrender. When the fort could no longer be held, they marched out, weapons in hand, heads held high. British Commander General Ochterlony ordered his men to cease fire and saluted them as they passed. In that silent exchange, enemies became something else, men who recognised each other's honour. By 1816, the war was over. Britain had gained land, but failed to break Nepal. So instead of conquest, the empire made an unusual choice. They began recruiting the very warriors who had humiliated them in the mountains. The first Gurkha regiments were formed. Former enemies now stood shoulder to shoulder. And soon, that decision would be tested in wars far beyond the Himalayas. By the 20th century, the Gurkhas had become a vital part of the British Army. In 2 world wars, more than 200,000 Nepalese soldiers fought in France, Italy, North Africa, and Burma. Their bravery earned 13 Victoria Crosses, the Empire's highest award for valour. One of those medals was earned in Burma. During a Japanese assault, rifleman Lachhiman Gurung stood his ground. Grenades rained into his trench. The first, he threw back. The second, he threw back. The third exploded in his hand. It tore away his fingers, shattered his arm, blinded one eye. Most men would have fallen. Lachhiman propped his rifle with his remaining hand and kept firing. For 4 hours, he held off nearly 200 enemy soldiers, alone. When dawn came, 31 bodies lay in front of his position. He survived. They didn't. To the British, the Gurkhas became symbols of loyalty and courage. To the Nepalese, their service carried pride and sacrifice. A small mountain kingdom forced an empire to learn something rare: that true strength isn't measured in territory conquered, but in the respect you command. So tell me, if you were General Ochterlony, would you have saluted your enemy? But this wasn't the last time an empire learned that numbers don't decide history. 20,000 men, 300 knights, a dying king of 16. Logic said hide, history said charge. Coming soon, the Battle of Montgessard.